Hello and welcome to another episode of The Kid Stays in the Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cooper, and joining me today is...
Solomon Cooper.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. That's the first time I've ever said that, I think.
No, you've said it a couple of times recently. I've gotten really good. You should listen to our previous podcasts where you see how good I am.
What did you say last time?
I don't remember. What was our last episode?
So you don't even remember what our last episode is?
It was...
We can't be looking at
Doesn't matter.
The past already.
Doesn't matter.
So joining me is Solomon Cooper, and this week we're going to be doing another one of our classic look back episodes.
But it has intentions.
Yeah.
It has purpose.
There's always purpose. There's always purpose and intention. So as some of you may know, recently was the San Diego Comic-Con, known for its huge information dumps, trailer releases about all things, nerdy movie. It's weird. It's San Diego Comic-Con, and yes, a lot of the movies are comic related, but really it's become like the stomping grounds for studio executives to announce any new big movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe they should start their own movie festival and let the
What would they call it?
I don't know. San Diego Movie Con.
It's not as cool though. I feel like there's some more fun, nerdy stuff at Comic-Con.
Well, this year they honestly didn't. There wasn't that many huge announcements. You know what I mean? It was mostly just trailers getting released, full-length trailers. Most of them were things that we already seen trailers for, with very few exceptions. I'm trying to think. Did any groundbreaking news come out of it?
I don't know.
Okay, so you didn't follow the con?
I did not.
I made you watch all the trailers though.
Oh, that's like D&D then?
Yeah, I guess D&D. Yeah,
and all the Marvel
was the
movies?
first trailer. The thing was, that wasn't an announcement, right? We already knew that movie was getting made.
About all those Marvel movies.
So the D&D movie with Chris Pine, that was the first time we ever saw the trailer. We already knew the movie was in development. We already knew the cast was. Game of Thrones, it was an extended trailer.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, we already seen a trailer for that, but it was a really short trailer, so not a huge announcement, but a new full-length trailer, I guess. She-Hulk, much better trailer, and it showed that Daredevil's going to be in it.
Okay.
Which makes sense. They're both attorneys.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
What other trailer did we watch? There was something else.
Shazam.
Yeah, Shazam. First Shazam trailer, but again, we knew that was going to happen. And then another Black Adam trailer, but missing in action, whereas any trailer or word from Aquaman or Flash.
Oh. Were we supposed to get news about that?
I mean, they're in development. Flash is already finished.
It's done?
They've wrapped Aquaman months ago or longer.
Why is it not released?
That's the thing. Nobody knows. Well, with Flash, we do know because the lead actor is turned into a psychopath. So.
Oh, yeah. But are they not going to, they can just release it?
Well, they're going to release it, but I'm just saying that they didn't show anything about it at Comic-Con. That's very weird.
Okay.
So anyway, once again, talking around, one of the big announcements that they showed was they finally showed a full-length trailer for the new, trillion-dollar budgeted Amazon Lord of the Rings show.
What's it called?
The Rings of Power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
we watched that. So, in anticipation of this Lord of the Rings show, which is coming out, I believe this fall, if I'm not mistaken.
It's September?
Is that right? Yeah.
I thought that's what you said.
I keep getting it mixed up with when the Game of Thrones show is coming out, when I think Game of Thrones is coming out the end of August.
Okay.
But in anticipation of that, we decided to do a rewatch of Lord of the Rings. I know it can seem like a not particularly exciting idea because Lord of the Rings was such a huge movie series when it came out, and so many people talked about it. There's been many think pieces about it. You've probably heard about it a bazillion times. Mm-hmm. However, I think this will be kind of unique. Solomon has not really seen Lord of the Rings. He keeps saying he's seen it, but that means that, like, my dad might have had it on at the house while he was a little kid.
I hadn't seen it I thought I saw it like a long time ago.
You never have sat down and watched Lord of the Rings.
Not in the movie theater?
No, they all came out whenever I was really young.
You were really young when I was born.
Yes, that's true, but I was younger than that.
Well, which ones have I seen then? Because I've seen something Lord of the Rings in the movie theaters. Was it The Hobbit?
Probably The Hobbit.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
None of the Lord of the Rings is?
Not any of the Lord of the Rings.
Is.
Yeah. So yeah, Solomon hasn't seen them, so for him it's not a rewatch. and I haven't seen them since the movie theater.
Yeah.
So the first movie came out when I was in high school, and then they released every year after that. So I think the last one I saw when I was 21, and I'm 27 now. So 6 years. It's been 6 years.
That's it.
But yeah, I haven't seen them since then. So I've never read the books. My dad got them for me when I was in high school. I made it 40, 60 pages through Fellowship of the Ring, and I just couldn't. Like, I understand it's part of the charm of the books, but I couldn't get past the, 3 pages of dialogue of exposition describing to you a table. Like, have you ever read Lord of the Rings, Solomon?
No.
Have you read The Hobbit?
Most definitely not.
Well, The Hobbit's a much easier read, I've heard.
I know, but I haven't read any of them.
Okay. Well,
that shouldn't come as a surprise.
Yeah, I forgot that you don't read.
I'm illiterate, you know that.
Well, just so you know, if we're reading Lord of the Rings, it'll be very similar to this. It'll be like Bilbo sat down at an ornate wooden table, and it had etchings in Elvish on the sides and the flowers from the fields of blah blah blah. The carpenter who made the table was so and so the wood chopper. And like, it'll just go on, and you'll learn about all the designs that are on the table. You'll learn about who made it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
that
crazy.
Is so weird.
And it'll be pages of that.
Sounds neat.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like, I feel like I was like 20 pages in, and I like stopped because I realized I'd been reading a description of a wagon wheel for 3 pages.
Why didn't he like write a separate book for that?
He had, like, his lore was so deep that he'd come up with that's the reason why it stuck, right? Like, it was created a believable world. Mm-hmm. And he did write like a bunch of books and books worth of appendices.
Wow.
That were later turned into the Silmarillion after he died, because he never finished that as a book. Anyway, whatever. We're getting too far afield. Okay. Now I sound like Tolkien. So yes, this new show's coming out. It's a prequel. I realized I was excited about it. Amazon's spending bazillions of dollars on it. It looked really great. But I didn't know who any of the characters were because I'd only seen the movies once. This is pretty deep lore. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know who any of the names were. So I was like, let's just go back, rewatch The Lord of the Rings again. Mm-hmm. Sir Solomon for the first time. So Solomon is raised in this, what would you call it? Your generation?
Like, what the actual name of my generation is?
I mean, you can call it like toxic, no attention span having layabouts, but
okay,
that's
I'm very different from a lot of my no attention span havers. Okay, I feel like you have less of an attention span than me. You can just turn off and on your attention span haver.
Yeah, but that's the whole point.
I can also kind of do it.
It's more like, for you, it's like commitment. It's like,
I have commitment issues. Yes,
committing to even watching a regular length movie is already like, seems like too much. You just only want to commit to a YouTube video.
Because I watch 8-hour-long YouTube videos.
That's the bananas part of it.
Yeah, it's not that I don't have an attention span. It's just that I just like to focus on different things. Because I could play a video game for like several hours. I can watch a YouTube video for several hours.
Yeah, but those video games are constantly stimulating your brain with new things. And you're not making a commitment. When you turn a video game on, you're in charge of how long you're playing it. If the video game said, hey, turn this on, but you can't turn it off or you'll die for 2 hours.
For 2 hours? I'll die for 2 hours?
No, or you'll be like, that's a dumb example. What if it was like, if you don't play for at least 2 hours, you just start over from the beginning? You would just never turn the video game on. You would just not turn that video game on.
Well, that depends on if I love.
It's just that the fact that you have to be committed to something for a specific amount of time.
Yeah, it stresses me out. I like to be able to have control of when I do things.
So you can imagine that it was difficult, and because I've been wanting to do this since I heard this new show was announced, but finally now that I realize, oh crap, it's coming out soon, we need to go ahead and do this for the show. But it's been like pulling teeth to get Solomon to agree to do it.
It was also for you though. You
I would have done it a long time ago.
Well, yeah, but you still were having some issues with it. You're like, I don't really want to watch Lord of the Rings right now.
Yeah, it's funny. So whenever I saw Lord of the Rings in the theater, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I thought I loved it. But I just kept putting off rewatching them, and because they're coming out every year, it wasn't like there's enough time in between for me to forget everything, you know. So I just never went back and rewatched them again. And it wasn't that I didn't like them. I just never did it. Weirdly.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were going to go back and do this rewatch or first watch, and we were going to do the extended editions because the Lord of the Rings diehards swear that the extended editions are the ultimate pinnacle of everything Lord of the Ringsy. So I did a quick peekaboo at the run times, and I'm sorry, 4 hours.
Look, man, that's impossible. I think I only know of 2 movies that are 4 hours long, and one of them I did not watch.
Yeah, and like the thing is, we will sit there and stream shows for 5 hours, 6 hours,
million hours.
But that's even for me is a pretty huge time commitment. Like the truth is, we would need to take a break to make. You remember we watched the Snyder Cut? Yeah. You know, we took a bunch of breaks. We ordered some pizza, and it made it go by really fast.
That was so much fun.
Yeah. So I think maybe if we kind of did like that, or we went to the movie theater. Movie theater also, I get really zoned into the movie theater, and I can really focus. But anyway, I went.
That can risk me falling asleep though if I'm in the movie theater.
But I'll just keep poking you in the face.
Yeah, but you can keep poking me at the face in the living room.
Yeah, but in the living room you can't lay at the movie theater. You can't lay all the way sprawled out.
I can recline all the way back.
Yeah, but at our house you like lay all the way down like you're in the bed and then wonder why you're falling asleep.
Okay.
Anyway, not only did I look at the run times and say, but I went online just to make sure that there wasn't a bunch of plot points that we were going to be missing, like entire story arcs, and apparently there are. However, pretty much everybody agreed that as far as a movie experience goes, that the theatrical cut is the best for watching it the first time.
And this was my first time.
Yeah, so after you watch it the first time and you already know all the beats of the movie, and you're a big converted nerd to Lord of the Rings, then go back and watch the extended cuts, because then they expand all these smaller characters, like any character you might have been like, oh, I wonder what happened to him, or, oh, that guy was cool, but he's only in it for 5 seconds. But they do kind of slow the pacing down or whatever for a first time viewing, because you don't know who they are or why they're important.
So is that what we should do next time? We'll just watch the first one, but for 4 hours, and the next one we'll watch the second movie, and then we'll watch the second movie for 4 hours, and then it'll be 7 hours total of each movie.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Why not? It sounds like such a great time.
Hey, maybe we'll do an annual thing where we review Lord of the Rings every year, and next year we can do all 3 of them. But I'm not watching them all again. So anyway, yeah. So we're about to take a break, and we haven't even gotten into a discussion about the movie. But I think it's important. This movie's been around for a while, so important. What a silly word to say about this podcast.
Wow, it is important. It's a very important podcast.
I'm just saying, I think it's worth us going into what our background is with Lord of the Rings, why we're watching it right now, and let people know, like, if you're a big Lord of the Rings person, you're probably going to be annoyed with us because I'm not going to remember everybody's names. I'm going to pronounce a lot of people's names wrong. I'm going to not even try and pronounce some people's names. And I'm going to get little plot details incorrect.
I'm not going to remember anything whatsoever.
What?
I'm just kidding. I remember it.
What a skadoosh.
A skadoosh.
Anyway, so yeah, let's take a quick break because, look, we're running right up at 15 minutes now. So let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to be discussing Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Is that what the first movie is called?
Yeah, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay, makes sense.
All right.
Goodbye.
See you on the other side.
Second.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded 1-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that 1-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that 1-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On 1-Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a 1-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Welcome back to the Kid Stays in the podcast and our discussion of Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the movie, one of the most talked about movies ever. Most discussed movies of all time. Probably up there with like Star Wars.
Okay.
And yeah, this is Peter Jackson's magnum opus. This is the movie that really, made him one of the biggest directors in the world. Kind of gave him a green light to do whatever he wanted,
That's awesome.
which sadly wasn't a ton after that.
So yeah,
But yeah, Lord of the Rings. Look, so Solomon, you've recently gotten into, D&D and, some classic fantasy stuff like that.
yeah, is this true?
What was it like to kind of, after you've seen so much stuff, I mean, you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but there's been so much fantasy stuff that's been made since Lord of the Rings came out over the last, 15 years or so.
And I've played a lot of fantasy games, Dark Souls, Demon Souls,
Yes.
Elden Ring.
So what was it like for you to go back and kind of watch the granddaddy? And we're talking about the story here, but the movie, sure. But you know what I mean? The Lord of the Rings, the story is kind of like the granddaddy of modern fantasy fiction. So what did you, fantasy fiction? That seems like a redundant thing to say.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But yeah, so what was it like for you to watch this movie? These characters have been in the zeitgeist forever. You've probably heard their names before. You've probably seen memes of them. That you've seen their archetypes in Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, what was it like to kind of watch the story that brought it all together?
It was very interesting because you really do see, like you said, all those archetypes, like your mage, your like assassin, your archer, all those type things. Which archers and assassins, those are mine. I love those guys. Not only as characters, but
Who is the assassin?
I feel like Strider gave me assassin vibes.
I mean, assassin I feel like isn't necessarily a main core class. Maybe a
rogue.
A rogue, yeah.
Whatever. I can be an assassin rogue.
Okay.
It can be like a sub. Whatever. I shouldn't explain it. What if I'm going to get things wrong and then D&D players can yell at me?
I feel like the archer is the one that's actually wrong. Archer isn't a class.
It's not a class, but I
So
can.
rogue, I think Legolas would be the rogue. He fights with blades and a bow and arrow. classic
I didn't
rogue.
see Legolas use a blade.
Yeah, he has dual daggers.
He does?
Yes.
I just saw him stab someone in the face with an arrow.
Yeah, he'll stab people in the face with his dual daggers.
I never seen him. I didn't.
Anyway, go ahead. We're not talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
I never saw his dual daggers though.
I derailed you.
No, you're good. Well, I kind of just lost my train of thought. It was very interesting to see because I felt like the whole movie was just like the director was the DM.
Right.
It was cool.
Well, J.R. Tolkien would have been the DM.
Yeah, I know, but I realized that after I said it, but it was too late. I don't know what else to say about this. Seeing the grandpappy, what else am I supposed to say?
I mean, I just thought it was even when I watched it years and years ago, watching it again, I was struck by how seriously they just took all these classic descriptions of dwarves and elves and hobbits. It is very classic for a reason. It's, I'm not going to say it's the very first one ever, but it's the closest we're going to get on this podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, so you look at Harry Potter, some of the more modern fantasy things, and even Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones, their big twist was essentially adding large amounts of sex and violence, and then making it to where magic was something much creepier, and there wasn't witches double toil and troubling around a cauldron. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then Harry Potter youthed it up. You know what I mean? So but Harry Potter did use classic imagery, right? Witches with pointed hats and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing it was crazy to see how they just took it very. I mean, not that it doesn't have silly elements to it, and you know what I mean. It can be a fun movie, but they took very seriously the way that everybody looked, right? So they're just like, what? You think it's dumb that Gandalf has a big pointy wizard hat like he's from a cartoon? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's how he was described, because that was how it was written in the book, and they're just like, no, we're just going to take this seriously. They didn't try and so later on in Harry Potter, they went from wearing like robes, and in the books they always are wearing robes, but in the movies they kept trying to as the actors got older, they kept trying to make the outfits more quote unquote sexy, you know what I mean, and relatable to teenagers. So then by the time they're in high school, they're not even wearing.
They're always in high school.
They're not wearing. No, they're not.
The whole school's the same, though, right?
I'm gonna have to. I almost just now broke this microphone over your head.
Stop threatening me.
He's like 8. He's like 10 years old.
Yeah, but the whole school is the same, right? It's like one big school.
Yeah. So what?
I guess you're right. Okay, sorry. Okay.
So it's Valor.
Yeah.
Would you say the 5th graders at Valor are in high school?
Well, no, because it's like separated.
No, it's not. It's one big building.
Really? I thought that the buildings were like separated into. Okay, whatever.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the point is, in Harry Potter, as they started getting older, they started changing the design from what it was in the books to where they're wearing just like prep school clothes. You know what I mean? The girls are wearing like plaid Catholic schoolgirl skirts, and
yeah.
This movie did not try and do that.
No.
They just had them straight up looking like exactly what you would see in like an old fantasy video game, or book illustrations.
Yeah.
So it was very classic. Did you think that worked for you as one of these Zengiers?
Honestly,
Zengiers.
I don't know what a Zengier is.
Gen Z?
Don't.
Are you Gen Z?
Don't say that.
But are you Gen Z or not?
Stop saying Z, and I will tell you.
X, Y, Z. Yeah, you have to be. That's the end.
It's not like Gen A, Gen B, Gen C.
Oh my God, you are the last generation. You will be our downfall.
We're all gonna die.
Anyway, so as somebody from Gen Z, what was it like for you to see all these kind of like classic designs? Did it seem silly or did it seem cool?
Did not even cross my mind whatsoever. I just thought it was classic.
Yeah.
Like outfits, yeah. Gandalf is just a wizard, like Merlin vibes. Or Dumbledore.
I don't know if Merlin had a pointy hat, but yeah.
Did he not? He had a long beard though.
I mean, sure.
I don't. Maybe I'm just imagining Merlin as the.
Do you even know anything about Merlin?
He's like the wizard from the Sword and the Stone.
The Disney movie, yeah.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And he's done some other things.
Yeah.
The Merlin.
I don't know why I was asking. I don't know that much about Merlin either, even though I used to read all the King Arthur books.
So yeah, yeah, I liked all their outfits. I didn't, like I said, I think Dumbledore is like the only one. Not Dumbledore. Gandalf. Sorry, I feel like I just now disrespected everyone, but I just had said Dumbledore's name. But Gandalf, I feel like his outfit's like the only one that's like really like old school classic. I feel like all the other ones are just like, I guess all of them are classic, but I feel like that's
I don't
not
know,
weird.
man. I feel like if you pulled up a World of Warcraft character creator, the default thing would look for dwarf would look like Gimli.
Oh
and
yeah,
for elves would look like Legolas.
sure, long blonde. Yeah, all their outfits are classic though, but that didn't like I honestly did not think about that whatsoever.
Yeah, so it didn't phase you. You
No.
weren't like, oh, this is some old
This
fogey
is
stuff.
this is silly now.
What do you think about the villains?
The villains. Sauron, he looked really cool. Like, I mean, we only saw him for like 5 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
but he was sick. I loved his helmet so much, and I want it. And
apparently,
everything.
this new show is going to be about the creation of the Rings of Power, but also the kind of creation of Sauron.
Yeah. The Eye of Sauron, also very cool, very cool. Also, I didn't know Sauron was a real person.
I mean, he's not a real person.
I know, but I didn't know he
Do
was
you
like
think he's like going to come to your bake sale at school next week?
yes.
Oh, I just wanted to remind you that you're going to be in school next week.
No, not next week, Dad. Don't ruin. try and ruin my day. I didn't know Sauron was like a character. For some reason, I only just thought the Eye of Sauron was a thing. But I thought the Eye of Sauron looked really sick. But the other guy, Saruman, which is very silly on how their names are so similar. Literally half of my name.
Yeah, I think it's part of how he was creating language and how different languages work, non-English languages, where a lot of times the names will be very similar, right? Because they're all derived from like different things.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but still,
Anyway, what about
can
him?
be confusion. I don't know. I just didn't like him. Didn't like him at all.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't. I mean, like, I just didn't care about him.
It's Count Dooku.
Yeah, Count Dooku's cooler,
It's Christopher Lee's. He's like,
but Count Dooku's better.
Nobody thinks that Count Dooku is cool in any way.
That's not true.
He's considered like the worst
Count
Star
Dooku's
Wars
so
villain.
cool. I love Count Dooku. I just felt Saruman wasn't very threatening. He just seemed kind of annoying and an annoying old guy. Gandalf is way cooler than him.
You didn't think he was very threatening. He beat Gandalf, and then he knocked him off a mountain from like miles and miles away.
They didn't knock him off. He was
They
just summoning a
almost did.
lightning storm, which was he seemed like, I know he was powerful, but he just seemed lame.
Whenever they had that wizard fight,
That was so silly.
You said it was like a ripoff of Lord of the Force. I thought it was awesome. What was silly about it? I thought it was so cool.
It was two old men throwing each other with sticks. It was just this whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
I thought it looked
whoosh.
awesome. I thought it was incredibly well choreographed. It looked like they were really getting thrown all across the room.
I thought it was cool for like the first 5 seconds, but then I just
So that's where your Gen Z stuff comes out. You can't use your imagination even when they're showing it to you. You need to see laser bolts flying out of the wands.
that'd be cooler. Just nothing. It just looked so silly to me.
I didn't think it looked silly at all. I thought it was amazing.
I don't need that happening with the Force.
You need the pew pew. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, Obi-Wan, just an old man with his lighty stick, swinging it around.
Yeah, but they're actually doing fighting moves.
Have you watched the original Star Wars recently?
Yes,
They're barely doing fighting
and I
moves.
love them all.
It looks like
deeply.
2 4-year-olds clanking broom handles together.
Yes, and we just had the opposite end of that in this. It was two super old people shooting each other with the Force. Look, like I said, I felt like I was like the first 10 seconds. I was like, oh, this is so cool, and I was just like, this is just getting dumb.
I thought it was amazing.
Well, good for you.
I'm glad there's not any more magic like that in the whole rest of the series.
There's no more magic.
Because all you why
I
did they
thought-
put magic and all you do is bitch and moan about
I
the
thought
magic.
I thought Gandalf doing that. You shall not pass. I thought that was sick.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
You weren't upset with your ageism because he was old and he was clomping
I
his
just thought
stick
it was
around.
so goofy.
Also, you call it the stick. You know it's a wizard staff.
Looks like it's just a big stick though.
Gandalf's is with a jewel in the end of it, a classic wizard staff. The other guy's is not. Saruman's.
What?
Saruman, his wizard staff is not a stick.
What is it?
It's like a big wand with a big jewel at the end of it.
I thought you said Gandalf's had a big jewel at the end of it.
It is, but it's a stick, and it's like in like the little knotty root part. There's like a little gem.
Well, that's cool.
You
But
just
from-
said it was stupid.
But from the distance, but the way it was like shot or whatever, you can't see the gem.
Well, so the movie has a, you could say, slow, I would say well-earned setup in the sense that it starts at Bilbo's birthday party.
I like
and
that.
the actual Fellowship of the Ring part of it doesn't come into play until about halfway through the movie, right?
Really? Not like 30, 45 minutes?
Remember we turned it on, you're like, oh my God, it's only halfway over. And they were all sitting around the table, and then you talked through the entire Fellowship of the Ring speech.
I just talked at the part when she said, I announced the Fellowship of the Ring. That was
Yeah.
the whole speech.
Well, this is perfect because we're about halfway through this podcast, and I wanted to know how you felt about that first half of the movie. Did you think it was way too slow? Did you enjoy getting to meet Gandalf and the rest of the hobbits? But that point from when we start at the birthday party to where we get them all to.
Personally, I liked the first half way more than the second half. That might have just been because of stamina,
I think that probably was it.
but I thought the first half was so fun. I liked they were like having to sneak past all of the, what are they called?
The ring wraiths.
Yeah, that's a really sick name. What are they're called like Nagzuls or whatever.
Razagul.
No, that's a different thing.
I know, just kidding.
I think that their names are really cool. Sorry, walked away from the mic. Not walked away. What?
Said you walked away from the mic.
I just thought everything about that. I liked how sneaky they were. I really liked Merry and Pippin.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're really fun. I love Samwise. I loved all the hobbits, and I thought Strider was really cool. I just thought all that lore and stuff and all of them, like having to sneak past all of them, was just a lot of fun. And I felt there was genuine stakes whenever he got like stabbed and he was about to die. The thing is, I knew he wasn't going to die because I knew he was the main character.
Right.
But I felt like if I would have seen it from the first time, I would have been genuinely concerned because I would have no idea.
Well, I think that.
And I thought the ring was so cool, like how the invisibility works.
Yeah.
That's really sick. But yeah, I think a lot of that was really cool.
I think that all I was going to add was that what Tolkien did that Peter Jackson and his team of writers was able to do is because he had such a well-defined world, he really created all these different languages. Like he made up the whole entire language.
Wow.
And
So I could like speak Elvish if I wanted to.
yeah.
That's cool.
And and because of all the things I was complaining about in the books, well, in a movie, even a movie as long as Lord of the Rings, you have to condense some things, but if someone shows the descriptions, all you have to do is show it. You know what I mean? But because everything's so perfectly described in the books, and there's like an appendix that tells you who this wood carver was and which homes he appointed with which things, that allows the director. Imagine how amazing that would be as a resource. You know what I mean? Now, whenever you're designing these things, you know exactly what it looks like. You know, hey, this tavern had the same, masonry work as this other tavern because it was the same guy's brother. So now we know to make them look kind of the same, or things like that.
Yeah.
So it allowed that first half of the movie, I feel like, to see like you were actually looking into a fully formed world.
Yeah.
Even if it was a fantasy world. And I think is it the Prancing Pony? Is that the tavern they have to go to?
Sounds about right.
I think that was kind of like this is probably a load of crap, but I did see it somewhere. That it's kind of like the inspiration for like the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Really?
Yeah, it's like all these weird people are there, all these kind of scary people.
Mos Eisley Cantina?
Yeah.
With that person with the big eyes?
Yes, I'm not saying that that's just the inspiration.
No,
for
I
it.
know. I'm just making sure that's what you thought, or what you read.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a lot of this journey that's very, very much Star Wars cribbed from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if George Lucas were to try and say that he had never read Lord of the Rings before, I would call him a liar.
Well,
I was going to call him something else, but this is a family show. Anyway, but we're just over our break time, so let's just take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll discuss the formation of the ring and the conclusion of
the formation of the ring,
of the Fellowship of the Ring, of the Fellowship of the Ring,
What?
I thought I was sick.
Are you okay?
All right, we gotta take a break. All right.
911, what's your emergency?
Do you hear that? It's coming from the house.
It's coming from inside the house? Do you mean? Could it be?
The Poltergeist. New from Rogue Media. Two haunted hotties talking about haunted places. Every episode, we dive deep into the darkest places and give you a bit of history.
We're getting spooky in all the right places.
You've gobbled your last ghoul.
Follow along for the craziest and spookiest stories with Debbie's Dark Tourism. The Stanley Hotel,
Winchester House,
the Alamo,
Hotel Monte Vista.
and more spooky places. Find us at _Poltergals. POLTERGALS.
Look over your shoulder. It's us,
The Poltergals. Wherever you consume the podcast, you can find us there.
Hi, this is Sarah,
And I'm Carter.
and this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and
vinyl.
So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Welcome back to the Kid Stays in the Podcast and our discussion of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Did I say discussion? Hope I did, because that's what I meant. This is more like a discussion. I've said before, not that we can't give our opinions on these movies, but I don't want these lookbacks to be like reviews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the point of that? You've already seen it. We'll tell you what we think about it.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, the other people have. And we're going to tell you what we think about it. But, you know, this is not like some whatever new blockbuster movie that I feel like needs to be reviewed.
Well,
Ouch. I have something in my back.
in your back?
Oh, gosh.
He got stabbed.
Yeah.
Not again.
So when we left off, you said the first half of the movie was your favorite part, was more fun, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add to that was that because he's such an iconic character, I completely forgot how absolutely amazing Ian McKellen is as Gandalf. He is so charming. He has so much personality. It's not just like stoic wizard man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking the role and doing something with it.
Yeah.
You know? Also, I kind of frankly forgot how perfectly cast everybody is in this. I can't imagine anybody else playing these characters.
Frodo looked so silly.
What do you mean he looked so silly?
That actor looks really silly.
He's a hobbit. What do you want him to look like?
Samwise?
No.
Samwise, I feel like Samwise was the real hero of this movie.
You'll probably still feel that way whenever the whole thing is over.
And what was Strider's real name, by the way?
Aragorn.
Aragorn?
Aragorn.
Aragorn? Aragon's so much cooler. Isn't that a spice?
No. You're thinking of peppercorn.
No. No, Aragon. That's definitely like a spice of some sort.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's Aragorn. Just had to make sure that.
Dude, what is it called? I'm going to have to look some spice up. It's called like Sauragon or Aragon.
Tarragon?
Tarragon.
Oh my gosh. Wasted 2 minutes on that.
It was not 2 minutes.
So anyway, we'll talk about the cast.
He's so hot. Sorry.
Aragorn?
Yes.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
That's not what I said.
So yeah, we're halfway through the movie. I really do think that it was a stamina issue because we ended up starting it later than I wanted to because of you and your constant tardiness and delays.
You were so mad at me, and we were 10 minutes later than you wanted.
I felt like I said we were going to start it at 7, and then so many little delays kept happening that we didn't end up starting it till 9.
Yeah, that wasn't my fault.
I think it was.
It was not.
Yeah, we were going to like run to the store and get some candy, but then you were like, "What about chips? Oh, what about
That's what
pizza?"
you said. I just want to
No, you were like all lollygagging around.
get. You're so rude.
Anyway, we started at 9, which is pretty late for one of these movies, and I think that's why I would say that the back half seemed slower to you.
By the time
because
of
you
the
were
end,
so sleepy.
I thought I was gonna die. By the end of the movie, I was just like,
All of the action happens in the back half of the movie.
yes, and that is when I was the most bored.
Yeah, because you
Those
were already tired.
I was very angry that orcs are goblins. I think it's very bothersome to me. The orc chieftains are orcs.
Yeah, so what he's talking about when they go into the mines of Moria,
That monster that they find was really cool.
the octopus one,
Yeah.
it's called the Watcher in the Water, I think.
Okay.
I think that actually killed a bunch of people before they got there.
It's very cool. It was very cool.
So they go into the mines of Moria and they expect to find an entire like elven or dwarven
Civilization.
Well, not civilization. That's the wrong word. City.
Society.
Yeah, whatever. It's a dwarven empire, like one of them, and Gimli, who's the dwarf, who Solomon doesn't remember the actor from Indiana Jones, which is really embarrassing to me.
I haven't seen the Indiana Jones movie in so long.
Yeah, well, it's embarrassing to me.
How about we go back and watch those next time?
Oh, okay, well, we will soon because there are new Indiana Jones movies coming out.
Really?
But yeah, so they're in the mines of Moria, and then whenever Orlando Bloom's character Legolas, he finds an arrow, and it is very confusing. I remember thinking this actually when I watched it at the theater. It was confusing to me because he finds an arrow, and then he's like a tracker, and he's like an arrow expert because he's an archer, and he's like, oh, goblins. So the whole time you're like, oh man, we already saw them fight orcs, we've seen them fight ring wraiths. Now we're gonna see them fight goblins.
And I was thinking, like, I'm sure y'all have played Clash of Clans or Clash Royale. Goblins are green with big ears, and they run around, and they're all small, and they're like, they're trying to steal things from you.
Or they're also in Harry Potter. They're the ones that work at the bank. Gringotts.
Oh, yeah.
They're also big ears and big eyes.
Yeah.
So anyway, like 10 seconds later, they're having a little chitty chat, and then Frodo's magic sword lights up, and they're like, orcs. And they already established in the movie that his sword will glow. That's its magical power.
When there's orcs around.
When orcs are around. So they're like, oh, orcs. So it was very confusing because it's like 5 seconds ago you said that there was goblins. And why would you say that? Like maybe the goblins attacked first, and now it's the orcs. But
what I noticed the whole time was that the orcs were shooting the same arrows.
Yes. So I told you, I looked it up. And,
I know.
And goblins are just like a type of orc in the Lord of the Rings. So remember when it cuts, when they're like sitting there, it does pan around and it shows what you would consider classically a goblin. Remember, it had big bulbous eyes and big ears, but you only see one of them in that shot when they're panning around.
Do not remember that.
Well, there is goblins in those ranks. So there are goblin orcs or whatever you want to call them, in there. You don't remember that at all?
No.
You should, because the orcs just look like monster people.
Yes.
And this looked like a creature, not just like a monster person. Like it literally had big Yoda ears and big bulbous eyes, like what are those lizards in Dark Souls?
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't remember them at all.
Well, we'll have to watch the movie again so you can see it.
Okay, extended cut, 7 hours.
So yeah, I definitely because you have all these awesome fights that are really amazing. The fact that I was on the edge of my seat, like not breathing at the theater during the fight in the mines of Moria.
That one was good. That was a good fight. I liked that one. Except for Frodo is useless. God, he sucks.
He saved Aragorn's life.
Barely.
Solomon just weirdly hates Frodo.
He is not good.
He doesn't like Elijah Wood, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't. But Frodo is just not. I feel like, honestly, Samwise should have it. Honestly, Pippin should have it.
Solomon's missing the entire point of Lord of the Rings, which is about your character is what determines if you can carry the ring. He was chosen for this because his character.
Yes, but Samwise is one of the nicest people in the whole world.
So what?
Okay, but
Sean Bean was a really nice character, and he touched the ring one time and almost turned evil.
I know. I understand that Frodo earned and deserves and can use the ring or whatever, but I just think he sucks. He can't do anything. He's useless. He literally, he was like, oh, I gotta save you. Oh, slap, fell over.
He was fighting a cave troll. He's a tiny little hobbit.
And he didn't even stab him. He didn't cut him at, no, not even a paper cut, nothing.
He kept him from killing Aragorn.
That's true. But
and it risked his own personal risk.
But Merry and Pippin, they jumped on his back and they're like,
he wasn't in a position to jump on his back, you dingus.
I know. I just feel like he shouldn't have gotten slapped. He's so small. He could have been like.
He's a hobbit. That's the entire point.
He should be nimble though.
They literally say like, even a small person can do important things.
I know, but I just figured that he was so small, he'd be easy to like run and dodge and roll.
You're so rude. What did you think about Boromir? Because I remember when I first saw the movie, I thought he was like so awful and mean and evil, and I was so happy whenever he died. Boromir, the other human.
Oh, he's awesome. I loved him.
You didn't think he was awful, horrible, terrible spy?
No.
Also because he wasn't a spy in the movie.
He wasn't. He got overcome by the ring at some point.
Just for like 5 seconds, too.
I know, and that's it.
He got a great death. It's a classic death.
I felt so. That was in the second half, and I did feel really bad about it.
And that's at the very end of the movie. How did you think that fight was boring? That whole fight was amazing. All of that.
Some of it was cool, yeah.
What part of it wasn't cool? What part of it was dumb?
I didn't say any of it was dumb.
The problem was you didn't take my advice earlier since you had us watching it so late. If you would have taken my advice and not waited till you got sleepy before you stood up and started doing the stretches, then you would have been fine like me. But instead you waited until you were about to pass out to get up and do the stretches.
No, I was never about to pass out. I just did it because I was bored. I thought that Legolas, I liked Legolas a lot. He was cool. He was a good character. I liked him. I thought he was cool that he stabbed people in the face with his arrow. I still do not remember his dual swords or whatever.
Well, obviously you're like, since I wouldn't let Solomon be on his phone, my guess is that his little Gen Z brain was just imagining being on his phone. So his eyes are probably glossing over, and he was imagining playing Candy Crush.
Bruh, I'm not 70. Candy Crush.
I couldn't think of anything for a second.
Oh my gosh. That's not at all. I think there was only 2 points where I actually thought because I forgot I had a phone multiple times. And then my phone vibrated, so I wanted to check, but I didn't. I never checked my phone a single time that whole movie, which I was really proud of myself for. But yeah, I felt like Boromir's death was a good one. That made me really sad, genuinely sad. But the actual end, where I thought Samwise was gonna die, that was the worst thing in the whole entire world.
That was some fun trolling.
My dad was like, "Oh yeah, Frodo just lets him die," and I was like, "Frodo sucks so much." And I was like, "He can't die. There's no way he'll die. That'd be so mean of the movie to do that. 2 deaths right in a row."
For you folks who don't remember, at the very end of the movie, he tries to swim out to Frodo's boat, and Frodo's like, "Nah, bitch, I'm going away." And
you just said it was a family show.
I can say 2 B words in a family show. Come on, there's curses in Home Alone. That's a family movie.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
Is there?
Yeah.
How many?
What's the thing that Kevin says at the top of the stairs? "Come and get me, you big horses." A word.
He doesn't say it.
Yes, he does.
Oh, he does.
Yes, he does.
It's a good movie. I love that movie.
Anyway,
You should watch that next time.
Yeah, so he looks like he's gonna drown, but he doesn't. It doesn't actually make any sense because we see him sinking way down, and Frodo doesn't even dive in. He just reaches his hand down. Is he like Mr. Fantastic? Did his hand go all the way to the bottom of the ocean?
I guess.
Or the river, whatever.
Frodo's very small. I don't know if you'll know this. He's a hobbit.
Yeah. So I think that next time we will make sure that we start it at 7. That's an appropriate time, 6 or 7. And so we don't have to worry about it.
3 Red Bulls on hand, ready.
Yep. I actually had a absolutely wonderful time, and I was so into it that I immediately downloaded the Shadow of Mordor
Shadow of War.
It's
the second one.
Because Solomon wasn't obviously going to stay awake for watching the other one, but I would have immediately turned the next one on.
I would have lost my mind.
Well, it was 1 a.m. at that point.
Yeah, I can stay. I've stayed.
Yeah, but not watching a movie.
That's true.
Any movie, I can't imagine that I would have turned on right after that you would have been fine.
I watched The Amazing Spider-Man at like 2 a.m.
The thing is, I know that you can do anything you put your Gen Z mind.
I can do if I want
if
to.
you want to do it.
Yes.
But the thing is, you never want to do anything.
If
you
it's
want everything's an impulse purchase to you. You want life to be like the checkout aisle at the grocery store, where you can just pick whatever thing you want in that moment.
Yeah, maybe some peanuts, gum, chocolate bar. Sounds nice to me, you know, some Spider-Man, some Stardew Valley, some Pokemon.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. I want to take us to concluding statements.
Okay.
I'm going to say I had a really great time rewatching this. It was really fun to get back into the lore of Lord of the Rings, remembering what Sauron's plan
of the Rings.
Oh my gosh, it was less complicated and confusing than I remember it being when I first saw it. And I'm really excited to see. We didn't even talk about all the other characters like Galadriel, the White Queen,
that one elf.
Yes,
is that who that is?
The forest elf lady.
Forest elf.
Yeah.
She was weird.
We didn't talk about a lot of things, but all these are discussions that we'll be having because these characters are in all the next movies. So I will just say, absolutely wonderful time watching it. I definitely think that of all the movies that came out in the early 2000s. The special effects heavy. This movie looks great still. Really, other than
really good.
Other than some matting issues where you can tell that they're in front of like they're having to composite them together. The actual CGI is holds up really well.
The movie looked great. There was some like really cool monsters. Like what was that big giant thing that killed Gandalf?
The Balrog.
Yeah, he was really cool. I want to fight Balrog.
Oh, by the way, we gotta do this fast. But what did you think about Gandalf pulling an Obi-Wan? Did it make you sad? Were you
I
upset?
was irate. It was stupid. It was a stupid way to die. It was so easy. And they were like, "You can't go, Frodo. You can't go save him." He was like 5 feet away.
No, he wasn't. He was like 50 feet away.
Dude, I could run.
Think about how far they would have gotten past him while he's talking to the Balrog. He's all like, "Yo, Balrog, you're not coming over here. I already told you, not coming over." He does a "you not pass" thing. That Balrog does his little dances with his whips. And then, like they think about how far they got.
They weren't walking the whole time, though.
Yes, they were.
They walked and then they stopped and then they were watching him.
Yeah, from the exit door.
Yes, but that wasn't that far. I could sprint that in like 5 seconds, and I'm out of shape.
What if something would have happened to Frodo? They couldn't just let him go.
Okay, then someone else could save him. He was hanging on for a long time.
That was just for dramatic effect.
Yeah, well, if he would have just fallen, then I wouldn't have cared. But no, he just sit there with his old man body lasting forever, and then no one saved him for no reason. It was so stupid.
He said, "Fly. Fly now." And
yes.
Threw himself backwards. Classic Obi-Wan move.
Yes, I know. Because for some reason, no one can save any old people. It's so dumb.
Because they're bad attitudes. Anyway, I'm really excited to watch the second movie. It doesn't have a beginning or an ending really, because it's a middle movie, but it's where a lot of the fun plot stuff happens. I really, really love the second movie. I remember it being my favorite one because it introduces the Ents, and I love them as characters.
Like Groots?
I guess, sure, but they talk. They say full sentences.
Like Pseudo-Udo?
And they're huge, like the size of trees.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love Ents.
I think you're gonna really like this movie. We're gonna start it earlier, but anyway. So, what did you think about it? Did you thought it was good, but you thought it was too boring? You thought it was too boring, but not good. Are you looking forward to watching the next movie?
I feel like objectively, it was very good, but I feel like you need to start it earlier or take a break or something, because it was a mental battle to not just go to sleep that whole time, because I knew, oh God, I think I almost had a brain aneurysm watching that movie. But like I said, I think it is really good, and I had a lot of fun for the first half, and I think I could have had a lot more fun watching the second half. But I know there was a lot of great stuff. It's a classic. It's built a lot of the fantasy stuff that I know today, and I'm very grateful for this movie and / book.
Are you excited to see what happened?
I'm very excited for the second movie, because you said there's Ents in it, and that sounds like fun to me. And I like Ents.
All right, well, we're a little bit over time, but thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's discussion of Lord of the Rings. Next week, we'll be discussing probably Lord of the Rings again.
And then the next week after that, probably Lord of the Rings again.
Yeah, there's not a lot of big blockbuster movies coming out, so I don't think we're going to have to bump any of our Lord of the Rings stuff. But if something does come out, we'll make sure that we're on it. But yeah, until next time.
Goodbye.
Follow us on Instagram at The Kid and the Pick and on RogueMediaNetwork.com.
Until next time.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.